Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It's been a few hours now since Chelsea won 3-0 against West Ham United, and when we win, I prefer to do these videos because I don't like to fuel negativity about our football club. I always like to look forward positively to the next game. It's not that I don't want to address bad things that come up regarding certain players, because today I am going to address it. I'm going to address the Timo Werner situation, a couple of other comments that I've read as well. It's Chelsea Fans React, where I go through the comments of the videos here on GBFC, take a look through some of them, and if I feel as though I can come up with like a logical counter argument, or if there's a question that I see quite frequently that I believe you guys want to hear my opinion on, then I talk about it after the result. And it just so happens that it was a good win, but there were still questions that were asked during this victory. It was a 3-0 that was not really a 3-0 in terms of what was an honest, fair result, but it doesn't quite matter. The only stat in football that we care about is the amount of goals we score and the amount of goals we concede. And when there is like 3-0, we're all very happy men and women. But before we get into anything, I do want to ask you to subscribe. You know, it's compulsory that I say that at the beginning of every video, because there's still like 35% of you that haven't yet hit the subscribe button. So now I've got that over and done with, going to take a little look through a couple of comments that I've picked out. The first one is from Eric. Classic Eric. He's even got a little E as his picture, although I think that's a default from YouTube. It's got nothing to do with him actually choosing to put it there. So sorry about that one, Eric. Love the win, of course. That's good. Me too. But still a bit frustrated. Me too, to an extent. But we'll get into the rest of your comment. The players did not look on fire. Still a London derby and not a single yellow card. I mean, for me, that's a good thing. You know, if we can go through a London derby, keep our heads, and, you know, in the past, particularly that game against Spurs, we remember a few years ago where there was an abundance of yellows donated to the players in that game. Donated, it wasn't really donated, it was given as a result of bad behaviour on the footballing pitch. West Ham is usually a feisty affair as well. And it was good that Chelsea didn't get any bookings today, particularly in a congested fixture list where I'm not sure how many players are actually close to getting too many yellow cards to miss certain games, but when we've got to play so many matches, when we've got so many injuries, that is a positive, in my opinion, but it's okay. Desperate to see us win against the top 16 for me to be happy. Yep, me too. On a plus, it's nice to have a CFC win in the back during Christmas. Question, George. What's your thoughts on Timo playing in an off position and not as a number 9? Have a nice Christmas in Bali, man. Have a nice Christmas too, Eric. What are my thoughts on Timo Werner playing out of position? This is a big question. It's one that came up a lot in the comment section of this video, and it's been coming up a lot on Chelsea social media, Chelsea Twitter, even the comment section of other videos in recent weeks, ever since Timo Werner played that game for Germany where they were absolutely annihilated by Spain. They lost 6-0. Timo Werner was playing in that game, and people have realised that ever since that game, Timo Werner's form in a Chelsea shirt has not been at the level that it was prior to that international defeat. Although there is some truth in this statement, I think the key thing we need to remember is there are a few things right now that aren't really working out in Timo's favour. I'm going to address them now. First one is what you've mentioned. He's not playing in his favoured position. If Timo Werner was to pick where he starts every game himself, he would probably be playing as a centre forward. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's also a case that he's played a lot of football in a very intense league, and every player, when they come into a new league, or maybe not every player, you look at Bruno Fernandes at Man United, it didn't take him any time to hit the ground running, but sometimes when you're used to something else and you come into something different, it does take a bit of time for the player to settle. It takes a bit of time for the player to adjust his body to the tempo of the football that's being played. The physicality, particularly also in the Premier League, is something that Timo Werner wasn't necessarily used to on the same level in the Bundesliga. And the third thing that I think is key for me is with a player like Timo Werner, who has prided himself throughout his entire career on being a goal scorer, when you're missing a lot of chances, which actually is something, if you look back at what he did at Red Bull Leipzig, he missed a lot of chances there as well, but he got a lot of chances because he was playing in a different system that really favoured his style of football, which is probably the fourth thing that we need to remember about Timo Werner. And when you're not scoring chances and you know you keep missing them and you see that there's a lot of people saying a lot of things about you, when he's talking in interviews right now, Timo Werner, you can tell that he's very frustrated. You know, if you look at the language that he's using and the words that he chooses to use, he is still obviously coming across as very happy, but you can tell that he's struggling. And he's coming out and saying it publicly because he's being asked about it a lot, because he's a big player within the Chelsea dressing room. He's got big appeal worldwide because of his record at Leipzig. The price tag, moving to a big club in Europe like Chelsea, is going to come with a lot of pressure and a lot of questions. And I think with all of those four things that we've just established, it's not going to be easy for Timo Werner to replicate the same kind of form immediately in the first half season of his Chelsea career that we were used to seeing in Leipzig. And I think the contributions he's actually given so far this season have been very good. And the majority of those goals and assists have come when he's playing as a striker or a centre forward. And at the moment, you look at both Tammy Abraham, who scored twice last night for us. You look at Giroud, who came in after being given a chance, scored 4 in Seville, then scored against Leeds, he scored against Wolves. And with all of the other injuries that Chelsea have to players in attacking positions, primarily on the wings, Timo Werner is in that luxury where he has the ability to fit in other positions far more preferably than a Tammy Abraham does or an Olivier Giroud. Timo Werner is better coming off the left wing than Tammy or Giroud, and he is also better coming off the right wing than Tammy Abraham and Olivier Giroud. But the question I want to ask you guys is, would you maybe like to see, if we still have injuries and there's no Ziyech or no Hudson-Odoi in that game at the weekend against Arsenal, could we see Timo going through the middle with maybe Tammy Abraham coming in off the wing? It's not something I've seen too many people talking about, but maybe it is something that we could try. I think it would help us get the better out of Timo Werner. And the problem is, if Lampard drops him and, Ziyech comes back in, does well, Tammy or Giroud keeps scoring, Pulisic is obviously, I think, one of our best, if not our best attacking player. If he keeps doing well and if he's fit, he should be picked every week, in my opinion, regardless of who it is that misses out. Timo Werner's confidence is going to go from going down to really plummeting. And I think it could be a problem if he does get dropped out of the team and he's just stopped scoring goals and getting assists completely. I think it could be difficult for him to actually regain that kind of confidence to even finish the season on a high at Chelsea. So it's certainly something that Lampard will be worried about. Timo Werner is always going to come under scrutiny because people are used to seeing a certain level of output. At the moment, he's not doing it. He's coming for a lot of money. A lot of people want to see him fail because, let's just say rival fans, for example, they see a quality player come into the Premier League, strikes a bit of fear within them, and then you're like, it's good if this guy fails, because if he's not bagging them in, then Chelsea aren't going to be scoring as many goals, getting as many points. It's going to build frustration around the player and the rest of the team. I think it's very premature to say that Werner's been a flop. I don't agree with any of those comments at this point. Thank you, Eric, for your comment. We're going to move into the next one. And I have no idea how to pronounce this name. It's written in Arabic, so we're just going to read the comment out. Please give some credit to Kante. He's Chelsea's rock right now. I can't believe he remains unnoticed. Now, I think the thing when it comes to the comments on the 6 Things We Learned videos is if I don't give a player a box, you guys sometimes might think that I don't rate that player's performance, or I don't think that that player has done as well even if they have done as some of the others, or maybe you think it's favouritism. However, N'Golo Kante, I think I've praised a lot this season. I've always said that when Kante is fully fit, he's one of the best midfielders in world football, not just within this Chelsea squad. And what I really did like about Kante, to give him some credit, is yesterday, in that game against West Ham, he was playing in a number 8 role, which we know isn't his preferred position. Frank Lampard gave the start to Jorginho, whether that is to maybe rest Kovacic for the upcoming games, the big games coming up, or maybe he just saw it as a bit more of a physical player, although I wouldn't really say Jorginho is necessarily a physical player in the middle, but he might have wanted some more of Kante's industry in more of a free roaming role in the middle of the park against a West Ham team that can counter very quickly, that have big players in the centre, and maybe that's what Frank Lampard saw. But I thought Kante did very well. Again, playing in a versatile position, something different to what we've seen from him recently. And yeah, you might be right. I don't think I mentioned Kante enough in the 6 Things We Learned. I thought he had a good game again. And overall, at the moment, when Kante has a good game, Chelsea are more likely to win football matches. He's got that kind of ability, that kind of quality, and again, I've mentioned so many times over the course of this channel that since Maurizio Sarri was managing Chelsea, we've seen Kante's game develop massively in an attacking sense. He gets forward a lot more now, and with Chelsea most of the time playing in the opposition half, it wasn't necessarily the case in that game against West Ham, Kante gets in more positions where he can do decisive things in the final third. You're right, he needs to get more credit. The next comment's from Jack Scully. Timo's very nice assist was a fluff shot, let's not pretend here. Okay, Timo Werner's shot that ended up being an assist for Tammy Abraham was a fluffed shot, but I think at this moment in time, one thing I really don't like about us as a fan base right now is we look for any small thing to continue proving a point as to why a player's not playing very well. I know it's ironic because I make these videos, but this is how I make my living, and I get paid from the ads on these videos in order to be able to sit here and do this, which is my dream job every single day. So yes, I do criticize Werner as well, but at the same time, I don't like to pinpoint little things that they actually end with really good outcomes, which was a Chelsea goal, Werner shooting, not very well, but in the right area of the pitch in order for our other players to pick up on the scraps, which Tammy Abraham did very well. It was a perfect little touch around the side of Fabianski. So this kind of thing, I wanted to address it in this video today because I want to remind us as a Chelsea fan base that the overall goal of watching Chelsea is, in my opinion at least, to help us and watch us win by being as supportive as we possibly can. We know, and from all of the reasons I've discussed already at the beginning of this video, we know that Timo Werner is lacking in confidence right now. He is struggling with a few things like his touch and his dribbling, and his finishing has not been very good recently, granted. But when something that he does do that wasn't quite what he intended goes well, I think it's time that we stopped pinpointing those little things and maybe focus a bit more on the bigger picture as opposed to just trying to find a hole in everything a man who's out of form does. It's the same with Kai Havertz. I think that we can become very harsh on these players who are still relatively young, particularly Havertz, adapting to a new league, in a new squad, in new systems, playing out of position because we have injuries. There's not much we can do about that right now. And I think looking at it from a positive angle, it's good that these players are willing to go into play in these different positions because we know Havertz doesn't really want to be on the right wing, but he said to Lampard he'd do it because he wants to prove a point, he wants to get minutes and do what he can for the team, even if it isn't at the favourable position that he would be in. And the final comment that I want to address in this Chelsea fans react video from the game against West Ham is from Chikwasha Kalunga, and he says, yes guys, love that, keeping it on brand. I would love your thoughts on Marcos Alonso as a left mid instead of a left back. I think he's very good in attack and does not deserve to be exiled. I believe he can contribute, I think he means, to our formation depth and tactics in a 4-1-4-1, 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, etc. Your thoughts, everyone. Mr. Benson, feel free. Well, I felt free and here we go. Does Marcos Alonso deserve to be exiled from this Chelsea team? When there are players like Emerson who keep training well, that know that they're not the first choice, but they keep giving everything when they're given minutes on the pitch, whether you think Emerson is a good enough backup or not, Emerson was given everything. Marcos Alonso in a Chelsea shirt, there's been moments of magic, moments of brilliance. There's also been moments like the one at West Brom, where he was absolutely atrocious, and he goes down the tunnel and he tries to sit on the bus. For me, this cannot be underestimated, and I think the way that Lampard has managed this situation is exactly how I'd expect him to do so. No one player, whether they think they've got a big part to play or not, has the right to just remove himself from the overall team, go and sit on the bus because things aren't going very well, complaining. That kind of thing, in my opinion, deserves the exile that Marcos Alonso has had. However, at the same time, when we are trying to consider different people's positions because we are currently having a lack of wingers due to injuries, do I think that Marcos Alonso could be good enough to be in more of an attacking role in this team when we're looking for players in those positions? Consideration, yes. Should he be starting games on the left wing when Chelsea want to play a 4-3-3? No. I know your comment is actually tailored to different formations here, but I think Lampard was right to do what he did with Marcos Alonso. And do I think he is ever going to be back in a Chelsea shirt again? No. I think we could see him leave in January. I might try and get some answers on that one from a certain person that I'm filming a little collab with this week. So stay tuned for that one. But long story short, my answer to your question is I think Alonso would be good going forward in a sense, but at this moment in time, Chelsea can't really experiment playing players in positions they've not really played before because it might work. You know, we've got Timo Werner who's happy to do it. He's not in form, but injuries going to be favouring us again soon. Ziyech coming back, Hudson-Odoi coming back, Pulisic back over on his favoured left. I think we're going to be okay. But anyway, I want to say a big thank you for watching this video today. If you did enjoy it, be sure to hit the like button. And GBFC 2 is back up and running after I took a little break because of a sore throat last week. Daily videos down there, so make sure you click the link in the subscription box if I can speak properly. Go and subscribe, and I will catch you guys tomorrow with a brand new video. Christmas is coming. Hope you're feeling as festive as possible considering the current situation. Love you guys. Come on, you Blues.